Welcome to True White Allies, where we celebrate the forgotten history of white anti-racists so their stories can inspire you to take action today. This episode tells the story of Lydia Maria Child, who published one of the first children's magazines in the US and used her writing to fight racial inequality throughout her career.
Before 1967, interracial marriage was still illegal in some parts of the US, but more than 100 years before it became legal, there was a woman who advocated for it. Her name was Lydia Maria Child. Lydia Child was born in 1802 in Massachusetts in the US. She was an author, teacher, and abolitionist. She wrote many books, letters, and she founded one of the first children's magazines in the US, Juvenile Miscellany. Lydia Child used her fiction and writing to fight racial inequality. In her early years, she was educated through the combined efforts of her parents and her siblings. She was the youngest of 6 children. Her mother died when she was 12, so she spent her teen years living in Maine with one of her sisters. There, she became friends with a Native American community of Abenaki and Penobscots. When she was 19, she moved back to Massachusetts to live with her brother, Converse Francis, a minister. Her brother was supportive of her education and writing. She lived with him when she wrote her first book in 1824 called Hobomok, A Tale of Early Times.
So the book is about a rich white woman who marries a Native American chief, has a child with him, and then leaves him with the child for another man. Okay, this was the 1800s, so if you read the book, please keep that in mind. Don't come for me because I didn't write the book. I'm just telling the story here.
The book was a success, and she went on to write other successful books, including The Mother's Book and The Frugal Housewife. The Frugal Housewife gave tips on saving money and reached a bigger audience of women from lower income homes. But in 1833, Lydia Child's fans turned on her. Lydia Child wrote an appeal in favor of that class of Americans called Africans, one of the first books written by a white woman on slavery. In the book, she denounced slavery and advocated for eliminating racial discrimination, including laws that made interracial marriage illegal. Lydia Child and her husband were part of a group of anti-slavery advocates led by William Lloyd Garrison, another great abolitionist. They praised the book, but Lydia Child knew that her ideas were radical for the time. She even predicted that she would suffer due to writing the book. Reader, I beseech you not to throw down this volume as soon as you have glanced at the title. I am fully aware of the unpopularity of the task I have undertaken, but though I expect ridicule and censure, I cannot fear them. Should it be the means of advancing even one single hour the inevitable progress of truth and justice, I would not exchange the consciousness for all Rothschild's wealth or Sir Walter's fame. Unfortunately, she was correct in her prediction. She was denounced. Sales of her book plummeted and people cancelled their subscriptions to her magazine.
But that didn't stop her. She carried on writing books on anti-slavery. One of her books was called The Oasis.
In the book, she wrote, "My purpose is a simple and honest one. I wish to familiarize the public mind with the idea that people of color are human beings, elevated or degraded by the same circumstances that elevate or degrade other men."
I love that she wrote that she wasn't trying to idealize Black people or make us superhuman. We're just like everybody else. We can be awesome and we can be basic, and that's okay. We don't always need to be excellent to be respected as human beings.
In 1841, she was the editor of the abolitionist newspaper, the National Anti-Slavery Standard. By 1842, she had transformed the paper's reputation. Its circulation was very high and it converted many people to the abolitionist cause. Lydia Child had her column called Letters of New York. She bore the costs of publishing the letters as a book, and it paid off. The book was very successful, and publishers approached her to publish later editions. Lydia Child was also friends with the great abolitionist John Brown. He was even more radical in his approach to ending slavery, and he incited several slave revolts. In 1859, after leading a raid at Harper's Ferry in Virginia, he was captured. While John Brown was in prison, Lydia Child wrote to him, "Believing in peace principles, I cannot sympathize with the method you chose to advance the cause of freedom, but I honor your generous intentions. I admire your courage, moral and physical." She also wrote to the governor of Virginia, asking to visit John Brown and nurse his wounds. The governor replied rudely, attacking her character, and published the letters between them in the papers. She defended herself, and they went back and forth. "You have threatened to trample on the Constitution and break the Union if a majority majority of the legal voters in these Confederate states dared to elect a president unfavorable to the extension of slavery. Is not such a declaration proof of premeditated treason?
Get him, Lydia!
Lydia Child died in Massachusetts in 1880. She died a woman of principle who was not afraid to speak on what was right, even at significant risk to herself and her career. A woman who would not allow herself to be bullied by men in positions of power. So what can white people who want to be allies learn from Lydia Child? Use your talents to be anti-racist. Lydia Child was a writer, so she wrote against slavery. Find ways to be anti-racist in your job. Have the courage to speak up when it matters and back up your words with actions. Hi, I'm Naomi Bowman, and if you enjoyed watching this video, please like it and share with 2 white people you think would benefit from watching it.